3. Education. Listening activity number 1. The Physics Olympiad in Iran. You are going to hear a report about the Physics Olympiad in Iran. Now listen to the report and complete the statements and then answer the questions.
The physics competition is one of the international science Olympiads held around the world. More than 300 secondary school students competed in the 38th International Physics Olympiad last month in Iran. They came from 73 countries, including the United States. Students from China had the top results, 4 gold medals and 1 silver. Russia was the second with 3 gold, 1 silver, and 1 honorable mention. Next came the United States and South Korea. Each team brought home 2 gold medals and 3 silver medals. And the teams from Iran and Japan had 2 gold medals, 2 silver, and 1 bronze medal each. The 10-day Olympiad took place in the ancient city of Isfahan. There were written examinations and laboratory experiments, as well as discussion meetings. The American Association of Physics Teachers and the American Institute of Physics chose members of the United States team. Physics teachers across the country nominated students, and committees chose about 200 of them. These students took additional tests, and 24 of them became the members of the team. In May, the members attended the United States Physics Team Training Camp at the University of Maryland. They went through 9 days of intensive studying, testing, and problem solving. At the end of the camp, 5 members of the team were chosen to travel to the Olympiad. All 5 members won medals this year. The first International Physics Olympiad took place in Warsaw, Poland in 1967. Until the early 1980s, it was held only in the former communist countries of Eastern Europe. The United States organized a team for the first time in 1986. And that's the VOA Special English Education Report.
Listening activity number 2. A fill-in-the-blank test. You are going to hear a talk about how to deal with a fill-in-the-blank test. Listen to the talk and complete the summary, and then indicate if the statements are true or false.
Good morning, everyone. Today, I'd like to talk about the fill-in tests and how to deal with them. A fill-in blank test may require you to recall an answer from memory or choose an answer from a list of options. Choosing an answer from a list is easier than recalling an answer from memory. In either case, the information given in the incomplete statement may provide clues that will help you decide what to write in the blanks. There are 3 strategies that can help you fill in the blanks correctly. First, decide what kind of answer the statement requires. Read the statement carefully and decide whether you are supposed to supply a name, a date, a place, or some other kind of information. Knowing what the question asks will help you recall or select the right answer. Second, the way a statement is expressed may help you decide how to complete it. Your answer should complete the statement logically and grammatically. For example, if you are asked to choose options from a list to fill in the blanks and the statement you are working on requires a verb to complete it, scan the list for verbs and choose from them. Third, key words in the statements may help you determine what topic the question covers. Knowing the topic will help you recall information needed to complete the statement. For example, if a question asks you to briefly describe Piaget's third stage of development, the key words Piaget and third stage of development let you know that the topic is Piaget's stages. If you can't recall the third stage, reconstructing the other stages in your mind may jog your memory.
Listening activity number 3. Teaching speaking and listening. You are going to hear a talk about a teacher's training program. Listen to the talk and choose the correct answer and then complete the statements. Welcome to the course on teaching, speaking and listening. This course has been designed for ESL, EFL teachers who already have some teaching experience but require formal qualifications. It is assumed that teachers have familiarity with some of the terminology and practical techniques of teaching, speaking and listening, and now seek the theory behind the practice. This course is not primarily intended to be a collection of teaching suggestions, ideas, or activities. It is an opportunity for in-depth exploration of the thinking behind what it is we are doing when we teach speaking and listening. It is also an opportunity to clarify values and beliefs about this area of language teaching. The focus of this course is on teaching the communicative use of English by speakers to listeners. Conducting needs assessments, teaching pronunciation and intonation, teaching vocabulary, and the teaching of grammar are discussed and explored in greater detail in other courses. Naturally, there will be some overlap, repetition, and even conflict, as language and the teaching of language is often, artificially, divided into skills areas. This course is only one part of your teacher training, and the theory and concepts will become clearer with the completion of each successive course. Teaching speaking and listening is designed to provide you with 18 hours study material in the form of this study guide, 2 audio workshops, a video, and the readings. The course has been divided into 5 units. Each unit represents 2 to 4 hours of study. The readings, worksheets, and learning activities will take varying amounts of time to complete, depending on the individual student. The assignments will require additional preparation time. There are many excellent ESL books full of ideas and suggestions for speaking and listening activities. The resource list provides a good starting place to search for materials which will help you with your readings, worksheets, and assignments. Listening activity number 4. Seminars. You are going to hear a talk about seminars in the universities. Listen to the talk and complete the statements.
Seminars are a kind of the university academic learning event. They are different from tutorials in several ways. Usually, seminars are attended by academic staff and senior students. If the seminar is led by a student, then the student quite often chooses and develops the seminar topic. The seminar's focus is broader and tends to allow more interaction among the students and teachers. You give a seminar to display to your classmates the depth of your knowledge on a topic. Or you can present and discuss some of your research findings for review. You should find out how your department runs its seminars. Some departments are formal and have chairpersons who introduce the speaker and control the questions. Other departments are informal and leave it up to the student to allow interruptions. Even if the seminar is chaired, you have control over it when the question should be answered and how deeply it should be investigated. You have the right to bring the audience back to the point if the discussion wanders. You may also ask a questioner to hold a question in mind until such time as you may answer it with due consideration. The main purposes of a seminar are to hear a point of view presented and for the audience to add to the presenter's knowledge by offering their ideas on the subject. There is a clear obligation on the audience to contribute to the success of the seminar by generating discussion. You need to prepare yourself before you go to the seminar. Find out what it is on. Read up on the topic and make notes of any points in the literature that you do not understand and that the speaker may be able to clarify. Take notes during the talk, as you cannot hope to remember all of what you want to raise later. Your notes should show what you agree or disagree with and what points you want to discuss.
Listening activity number 5. True-false test strategies. You will hear a conversation on true-false test strategies. Listen to the conversation, choose the correct answer, and then complete the statements.
Hi, Tom. Have you got your test result yet?
Yeah.
Let me have a look. You really did well. Tom, could you tell me how to do objective tests? I always have some problems with them.
Well, if you are well prepared for a test, you should be able to answer the questions, whether they are true, false, multiple choice, or fill in the blank. If you are not sure about some questions, you should try to guess.
But how to guess?
Let's look at true and false questions first. Since there are only 2 possible answers to a true-false question, you have a 50% chance of choosing the right answer. If you guess, you can use the following strategies for guessing the answer when you aren't sure that you know the answer.
What are the strategies?
First, mark a statement true unless you know it is false, because true-false tests often contain more true answers than false ones.
Really? I didn't know that.
Second, mark a statement false if it contains absolute words such as always, never, invariably, none, no one, all, and everyone. Absolute words tend to make statements false because they do not allow for exceptions.
That sounds reasonable.
For example, you should mark the statement, "It never gets cold in London," false, because the word never means never in the history of the world. It is highly unlikely that there is a place on earth where it has never gotten cold even once.
So, a statement that contains an absolute word is always false?
Remember, absolute words usually make statements false, but not always.
Right, I've got it.
And the last one, mark a statement false if any part of it is false. If part of a statement is untrue, then the whole statement is untrue. For example, the statement Hamlet, Macbeth, and The Dream Merchant are three of Shakespeare's most famous tragedies is false. Although Shakespeare did write Hamlet and Macbeth, he did not write The Dream Merchant. If you don't know whether a statement is true or false, but you're certain that part of it is untrue, mark it false.
I see. I will use these strategies for my next test. Thank you, Tom.
You're welcome.
Listening activity number 6. Multiple choice tests. You are going to hear a talk about multiple choice tests in the universities. Listen to the talk, complete the statements, and then answer the questions.
Good morning, everyone. Today, I'd like to talk about multiple choice tests and how to deal with them. The part of a multiple choice item that asks the question is called the stem. The answer choices are called options. The incorrect options are called distractors because they distract your attention away from the correct option. Usually, there are 4 options, though there might be 3 or 5. Your job is to identify the one correct option. You can do this in the following ways. 1. If you know the material, first answer the question in your mind, and then read all the options and choose the correct one. 2. If you know the material, but cannot answer the question in your mind, read the options, eliminate those you know are incorrect, and choose the answer from those remaining. The more options you eliminate, the more likely your choice will be correct. 3. If you do not know the material, or if you cannot figure out the answer, guess. Options that contain the phrases all of the above or none of the above are frequently the correct choices. If 2 options are similar, for example, Northern Hemisphere and Southern Hemisphere, one of the options is probably the correct answer. Finally, if one option is more complete or contains more information than the others, it may be the correct one. An option that contains an absolute word, such as all, always, or never, is probably a distractor, an incorrect answer. An option that contains an unfamiliar word may also be a distractor. Many students assume that an unfamiliar term is probably the correct answer, but it is more often a wrong answer. When you are guessing, you are more likely to choose the right answer if you choose an option that is familiar to you. Finally, if the list of options is a list of numbers, middle numbers tend to be the correct answers, and the highest and lowest numbers in the list tend to be distractors. These strategies are not foolproof, but they are useful as a last resort if you must guess the answer to a question. I hope these may help you to take the multiple choice tests. Thank you.
Listening activity number 7. Foreign students increased. You are going to hear an education report. Listen to the report, complete the statements below, and then answer the questions. This is an education report from VOA. A new report says the number of foreign students at colleges and universities in the United States increased 3% last year. This was the first notable increase since 2001, and it included a 10% jump in new international students. The Open Doors report is from the Institute of International Education in New York, with support from the State Department. In the fall of 2001, American schools had 583,000 foreign students. The record is 586,000. That was set in 2002, after many years of gains. However, after 2002, the numbers fell. On September 11, 2001, terrorists attacked the United States. This led to more restrictive visa requirements. Now, stronger efforts are being made to get more foreign students to study in the United States. For the 6th year, India sent the most international students last fall, almost 84,000. That was up 10% from the year before. China remained in second place, and South Korea was third. Japan was the fourth among the 20 leading senders of foreign students, but the number of Japanese fell sharply, 9%. There was 3% drop for both Indonesia and Kenya, the only African country in the top 20 last year. But there were notable increases from Saudi Arabia, Nepal, and Vietnam. The number of Saudi students more than doubled to nearly 8,000. For a 6th year, the University of Southern California in Los Angeles accepted the most foreign students, more than 7,000. Columbia University in New York was the second. Other schools in the top 5 were New York University, the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign, and Purdue University. The leading field of study was business and management. That was the choice for 18% of foreign students last year. The second was engineering. The new report also says more than 220,000 Americans studied in other countries. That was during the 2005 to 2006 school year. It was a record number and an increase of 8.5% from the year before, but only 5.5% of them stayed for a full year. That's the VOA Special English Education Report. Listening activity number 8. Welcome to study in Australia. You are going to hear a talk about educational programs offered to international students in Australia. Now, listen to the talk and complete the statements below.
Australia now has around 384,000 international students from over 140 countries around the world. They are enrolled in a wide range of disciplines at every level of education, including short-term English language courses, bachelor and master's degrees, right through to doctoral degrees. Whatever type of study you are considering, you need accurate and easy-to-use information to make an informed decision. The online guide can help you to make the best study choice. It can help you in the following ways. 1. An overview of the Australian education system, with advice on key topics such as applications, accommodation, and how to enjoy the great Australian lifestyle. 2. Detailed profiles of education institutions offering courses at 8 different levels. 3. Course listings and study data, for example, contact details, fees, course duration, etc. The advantage of taking an English language course in a country of native English speakers is the endless opportunities to practice speaking, reading, and writing English. Students coming to Australia on a student visa to study English language courses are usually required to study full-time. There are generally no set course entrance requirements for English language study, but you should always check with your chosen university. Tourists and visitors to Australia can also participate in some college studies during their stay, as long as the course is fewer than 12 weeks long. There are courses that combine study and tourist activities that have been specially designed for student visitors. You can generally apply for study abroad programs in Australia, either through your home institution or directly with the Australian institution. Students taking part in an exchange program will need to first apply for approval with their home institution before applying. When students apply to Australian universities, they generally need 1. To have completed a minimum of 2 semesters of full-time study at their home institution. 2. To satisfy minimum academic requirements set by the Australian institution. 3. To have satisfied any necessary subject prerequisites. 4. To satisfy English language requirements, if from a non-English speaking country. Students may be required to fulfill a number of other application requirements, such as providing academic and character references, a financial statement, and a copy of their academic results. Admission requirements differ among Australian institutions, so it is important to check specific details with individual institutions before applying.
Listening activity number 9. A VOA Special English Education Report. You will hear an education report. Listen to the recording and complete the summary of the report below.
Recently, we talked about how some American schools have made changes in the traditional school year. Their goal is to improve student learning. Some have extended the school year or reorganized it to avoid a long summer break. Another choice is to extend the school day. A new report from the Center for Evaluation and Education Policy at Indiana University examines research into how effective this is. The traditional school day has not changed much in more than a century. Activities or special programs might mean a longer day, but younger children usually go to school from approximately 9 o'clock in the morning until around 3 in the afternoon. Older students are traditionally in school from about 7 a.m. until around 2 p.m. Some high schools have changed to later start times because of findings that teenagers learn better that way. But the new report says results have been mixed. Teachers say students are more awake, but students say the changes interfere with after-school activities or jobs. By 2001, almost one-third of all secondary schools had some form of block scheduling. The idea is to provide longer periods in the school day to teach basic subjects. More class time should mean better results. This is the thinking, at least. Yet a 2001 study found that secondary schools with traditional schedules had higher test scores by comparison. Schools with block scheduling did have higher scores in science, though. In any case, the study agreed with earlier findings that students feel better about their schools in systems with non-traditional scheduling. So how useful is a longer school day? Not surprisingly, the policy experts at Indiana say it is what educators do with the extra time that has the largest effect on student learning. They note a criticism that education leaders often make scheduling changes without changing the learning environment of a school. The experts say teachers must be trained to use the added time effectively. Professional development is needed. The report notes that simply adding time to a program that is not very good or very interesting will not increase student learning. Community support is also valuable when making changes. There is also another consideration. Schools may need a lot of extra money to pay for an extended day. That's the VOA Special English Education Report written by Nancy Steinbach.
Listening activity number 10. The world's oldest graduate. You are going to hear a conversation between two friends. Listen to the conversation, complete the statements, and then indicate whether the following statements are true or false.
Hi, Nancy. Did you graduate from Fort Hays State University in Kansas?
Yes. Why do you want to know?
Look at this newspaper. There is a graduate named Nola Oakes from your university who is the oldest graduate in the world.
Oh, how old is she?
95 years old. That makes her the world's oldest graduate for the keeper of the Guinness World Records.
Wow, 95 years old. I can't believe it. I know there was a 90-year-old journalism graduate from the University of Oklahoma in 2004. I thought that was the oldest one in the world. What's her major?
History. You know, the paper says that Nola Oakes' granddaughter graduated with her.
That's very interesting.
Yes, one of the commencement speakers told the students to take a lesson from Nola Oakes and never stop trying.
That's true. I believe that people are never too old to learn.
Yes, I suppose so. But I don't know if I could keep on studying when I reach 95 years old.
You know, one of the educational psychologists said that the idea of permanent education is practical because we're never really too old to go on learning. Of course, there are certain limits, but they aren't age limits. For example, let's say a man past 60 tries to learn how to play football. It's foolish for him to do that, but only because his body is too old, not his mind.
Well, I agree with you. By the way, when is the American graduation season?
May and June are graduation season.
I see. Please tell me something about your commencement ceremony.
Well, mine was very common. That day we were very excited. All the graduates and professors wore the special caps and gowns at the commencement ceremony. My mom and dad came and we took a lot of pictures. During the ceremony, top members of my class and invited guests offered speeches and advice. Finally, the time came for what everyone had been waiting for. One by one, our names were called. We went to the front and shook hands with the school officials. We received our official diploma that day.
Graduations are always emotional events.
Yes, that is a really good memory in my life.
I'm sure it is.
Listening activity number 11. Listening skills. You will hear a talk about listening skills. Listen to the recording and complete the statements below. Then indicate whether the following statements are true or false.
There are two kinds of listeners. One is passive and the other is active. Passive listeners do more hearing than listening. They are aware that the instructor is speaking, but they aren't making sense of what he or she says. Passive listeners may expect instructors to motivate them and to interest them in the topic. Active listeners pay attention to what they hear and try to make sense of it. Active listeners tend to be self-motivated, and they expect to find their own reasons for being interested in a lecture topic. To get more out of lectures, become an active listener. You can follow these 6 steps. 1. Decide to listen. By deciding to listen to a lecture, you are taking an active role instead of waiting passively to receive information. 2. Listen with a positive frame of mind. Expect to find something in the lecture that will interest you. Assume that you will learn something useful, that you will expand your knowledge, and that your understanding of the course will increase. 3. Focus your attention on the speaker. If you keep your eyes on the speaker, you should be able to ignore any distractions that are competing for your attention. Keep your mind on the speaker's topic. Do not give in to negative thoughts or feelings about the speaker, the topic, or the speaker's opinions. Your purpose is to learn what the speaker has to say. 4. Encourage the speaker. Look interested and make eye contact from time to time. Ask questions and make comments when appropriate. Your posture and expression can communicate to the speaker that you are trying to follow his or her ideas. Everything you do to encourage the speaker also affects you by making you concentrate on the lecture. 5. Take notes. Taking notes helps you concentrate on the lecture. Take notes consistently when listening to lectures, and adopt or develop a note-taking system that works for you. 6. Decide what is important. Listen for repeated terms or ideas. Speakers use repetition to emphasize important points. Watch for gestures and facial expressions that may also be used for emphasis. Listening for signal words helps you listen for ideas. For example, if an English instructor says, "in addition," or "furthermore," then you should note that your instructor will give another point or example. When you hear, "remember that," "most significant," and "above all," these mean that your instructor is adding emphasis to the points. If you hear, "therefore," "consequently," "in conclusion," and "so," Your instructor is indicating a conclusion.
Listening activity number 12. How babies learn. You will hear a talk on how babies learn. Listen to the talk and complete the statements.
Here is a talk about how babies learn. Many people thought babies were not able to learn things until they were 5 or 6 months old. Yet doctors in the United States say that babies begin learning on their first day of life. They say that babies are strongly influenced by their environment. A baby will smile if her mother does something the baby likes. A baby learns to get the best care possible by smiling to please her mother or other caregiver. This is how babies learn to connect and communicate with other human beings. Many experts say the first years of a child's life are important for all later development. An American study shows how mothers can strongly influence social development and language skills in their children. The study involved more than 1,200 mothers and children. Researchers studied the children from the age of 1 month to 3 years. They observed the mothers playing with their children 4 times during this period. The researchers attempted to measure the sensitivity of the mothers. The women were considered sensitive if they supported their children's activities and did not interfere unnecessarily. They tested the children for thinking and language development when they were 3 years old. Also, the researchers observed the women for signs of depression. The children of depressed women did not do as well on tests as the children of women who did not suffer from depression. The children of depressed women did poorly on the tests of language skills and understanding what they hear. These children also were less cooperative and had more problems dealing with other people. The researchers noted that the sensitivity of the mothers was important to the general health of their children. Children did better when their mothers were caring, even when the women suffered from depression. The first 3 years of a child's life is the most intensive period of language and speech development. This is the time when the brain is developing. Language and communication skills are believed to develop best in an environment that is rich with sounds and sights. Also, the child should repeatedly hear the speech and language of other people. America's National Institutes of Health says evidence suggests there are important periods of speech and language development in children. This means the brain is best able to learn a language during this period. Officials say the ability to learn a language will be more difficult if these periods pass without early contact with a language. The first signs of communication happen during the first few days of life, when a baby learns that crying will bring food and attention. Research shows that most children recognize the general sounds of their native language by 6 months of age. At that time, a baby also usually begins to make sounds. These sounds become a kind of nonsense speech over time. By the end of the first year, most children are able to say a few simple words, but they may not understand the meaning of their words. By 18 months of age, most children can say 8 to 10 words. By 2 years, most children are able to form simple statements or sentences. By ages 3, 4, and 5, the number of words a child can understand quickly increases. It is at this age that children begin to understand the rules of language.